Global airlines have wrapped up discussions at the annual World Air Transport Summit in Dubai. Some 1,500 key decision makers attended the world's biggest gathering of airline leaders, exchanging views on hot issues such as airfares, turbulence, supply chain problems, and sustainable fuels. The International Air Transport Association, or IATA, says that the global aviation sector will likely see record high revenue this year, with demand recovering in many regions. And for more, CNA's Roland Lim joins us live now from Dubai. So, Roland, I know that you've been tracking the IATA World Air Transport Summit over the last 3 days. What are some of the key takeaways you got from the industry leaders and the airlines that you spoke to?
Well, as you mentioned, record high passenger numbers, record high revenues. In fact, IATA predicts that commercial airlines are set to help fly some 5 billion people worldwide this year alone, and revenue set to go up as much as $1 trillion. So that in itself is a very significant amount of air traveling, pent-up demand from past COVID pandemics, as well as business demand for travel as we speak. At this point in time, we're also seeing that net margins, though, for the airlines is not that great. We're talking about 3.9% for the year, and that in itself is not enough to actually reinvest back in terms of capital for the airlines themselves. I have some figures here for you. Let me share them with you. Now, the airline predicts that it expects the world's airline to post some $30 billion in net earnings, and that's up from a previous amount of $25.7 billion. However, margins are thin, as I mentioned. They are expected to be just 3.1%, and that's the industry unable to generate enough to actually, as I say, reinvest in capital. So there is a big gap there. There is a 5.7% return on invested capital. That's well below the cost of capital, which needs at least 9% growth each year. But, you know, it's not just all bad news. IATA says that the persistent supply chain issues that will still remain in place as well. Boeing having trouble delivering aircrafts to their customers. So IATA chief Willie Walsh says that he expects this supply chain issue to persist well into 2026. So that's 2025 plus 2026. Airlines executives themselves are telling me that air travel in general has recovered past pre-pandemic levels, but there are still pockets of disappointment. One, in fact, is intra-regional trade travel from China itself. Now, I spoke earlier to Chai Im Siri. He is CEO of Thai Airways, and this is what he had to tell me.
Right now, we fly to about 35 flights per week to China, to 5 cities in China. Not nowhere near pre-pandemic yet, but we know that, and then we moved our capacity to India and also to Japan. Japan now we back to pre-pandemic level already. India is very good potential target for Thai Airways. And the other aspect is even between India and China, there are very few direct connecting between China and India and vice versa. Thailand is a good connecting point for these two mega countries in the world. And Thailand in the middle, we can use that opportunity to transfer the passenger from India into China.
So Thai Airways is still optimistic, and it really wants to become the hub and spoke for between India and China in the very near future. Tell it.
Now, the IATA chief, Willie Walsh, picked up something interesting here. Well, he's expressed optimism about Hong Kong fully regaining its aviation hub status by the end of this year, coming from a previously pessimistic outlook. I'm wondering how significant is this for the city as well as the region?
Well, it is significant because Hong Kong used to be a premier aviation hub, and it is still the world's busiest air cargo transportation hub in the world. So it is significant, but a lot of Hong Kong International Airport's business really relies on Cathay Pacific. Cathay Pacific has been a key driver. Unfortunately, Hong Kong was late in the game in reopening its doors after the pandemic and suffered as a result. Now, Willie Walsh said that he was surprised, he was optimistic about Hong Kong's ability to recover as an aviation hub after seeing the speed in which flag carrier Cathay Pacific has actually bounced back. Cathay Pacific, of course, saying that it is now itself less bullish about the targets. Willie Walsh thinks that by the end of this year, that Hong Kong will be back on its feet to pre-pandemic levels, but Cathay itself, the management thinks that it might be into the first quarter of 2025, simply because it is still facing some constraints, the biggest of which it is its pilots, which it is short of. Currently, according to the Cabin Crew Association Union, pilots are still down 35% at Cathay Pacific as compared to pre-pandemic levels. Otelli.
Hey, thanks so very much, Roland. Have a safe flight tonight. We'll see you back in our studio very soon. And that was CNA's Roland Lim reporting to us from Dubai.